Inside Hilltopper Athletics is brought to you by Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. Here's your host, Lynn Ullom.
Welcome to Inside Hilltopper Athletics. I'm joined by head wrestling coach Danny Irwin. I'm Lynn Ullom, Director of Athletics here at West Liberty University. And Coach, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's awesome being on.
It's an exciting time. We open up tonight, and we're going to get to that a little bit later in the show. But I'm going to kind of pick your brain here and ask you some questions and just talk freely.
Sounds good. It's an exciting time, especially with tonight's season opener.
Yeah, it's we're looking forward to that. You came to West Liberty 3 years ago. Did it go by in a blur?
It's been somewhat of a blur if you look back on it, but you think about the ground we made and the different kind of pivotal points in the program, how we've taken kind of step after step. That when you look at it like that, it's been a process, and it's very appreciative of all the alumni and administration and our friends of the program that have been part of this process to put us in the position we are this year.
Yeah, it's for me as the athletic director, there's times when it seems like it was yesterday, and then there's times I look at you and I think you've been here like 10 years, so I don't know if it went by in a blur, and we've obviously got the program when we were going through the interview process and you and I had a chance to kind of talk back and forth. At that point, we're talking in theory, and I think I can do this, this, and this. So if you could grade yourself on a 3-year plan, where are you at?
Well, you can't overlook the ground that's been made, and the painstaking process at times it felt like to get to this point. So I feel really good about the different things we've been able to accomplish between our facility upgrades. I mean, that's made a huge difference, and just putting our guys in position to have the things they need to function at a high level and go after the things they want to do. And from a competitive standpoint, we've been able to just really build the roster and put us in position where our guys are being challenged day in and day out by each other, not just by the coaches, and having that kind of competitive atmosphere has been good. It's allowed us to have the success that we wanted to have. I would have liked to have been a couple spots higher, but in a short amount of time to put our program and the likes of a few of these other programs that they've been doing it the last decade plus, and now here we are in a mix, and I think we're going to be right there again this year.
Well, the success has certainly been there, and just to kind of, if you're not really familiar with what we've accomplished in wrestling here at West Liberty over the last 3 years, and correct me if I'm making any mistakes, 2 Mountain East Conference championships, 2 Atlantic Regional championships, and a 4th and 3rd place finish in the Nationals. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much spot on. Technically I think we're super regional number 3, and West Liberty's been in a couple different super regional numbers, but a couple of those championships with a lot of good teams in the mix there.
Yeah, and it's that's what these trophies indicate, are the regional champions, and a pretty good wrestling regional, and for us to get there so quickly. And I think sometimes we have a tendency, and you've already brought this up, that there was a lot of time and effort that went into that, but it's not just you and the kids. So do you want to elaborate a little bit on the support you've gotten?
Yeah, I think, first and foremost, our administration, sharing, my vision on what, I wanted to be able to put the position of the program in and day out. From our guys being able to compete the schedule that they do and have the opportunities that they do is awesome, first and foremost. And then you bring in our alumni and especially our advisory board and just, those individuals that, they've wanted to be a part of the process. They wanted to give back to the program that's given them a ton, and you can't put a price on that. You can't put a mark on that. It's something that without that right there, I want to be sitting here today. Something that having some of those conversations through the interview process and meeting some of the alumni, and it's only getting stronger. More and more alumni are making their way back to campus, and it's an awesome feeling that that environment's being recreated again.
Well, it was interesting how your tenure here started. My head coach had walked in and told me, like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to the private sector. And I'm like, well, geez, now I got to find a wrestling coach. Well, at that point, and again, correct me if I got the details wrong, you were just coming off a season where you were the National Wrestling Coach of the Year. So you're out there for the taking. How important was it that we had a historical presence in this sport?
Well, I think having that historical presence is something that sets West Liberty apart. Not very many programs have the history that this program has. With the amount of coaches. Usually you see a lot of different coaches running through. I think there's only been 8, 9 coaches over a course of 60 years. That's a good track record, and having that kind of continuity and people that have represented the program as the head coach. There's some awesome people that have been in my shoes previous.
We have a good time with him, and our historic wrestling coach, Dr. Vince Monso. So does he ever come to you and say, here's a drill for you, or anything like that?
Well, Coach Monso, he's as sharp as ever. He's somebody that we talk to just very consistently, and he's a big part of it. You have a man like that, and how he led on and off the mat and helped mentor the alumni that we have. It's no secret on why our alumni are so successful. When you had a mentor and a man of just outstanding morals and just ethics that led them, led this program for the number of years. It's a good presence to be around the program, and for me to pick his brain and just again he's been there, done that, and I'm a little ways into my career, and I think I have some good years left to go, but sharp as ever, has some funny stories, and that puts a smile on everybody's faces.
Well, I always jokingly say I'm 180 years old. I've been here for like 10 decades, 100 years or so. But I was fortunate enough, although I coached basketball, I had good relationships with our wrestling coaches and went to many of the home events and things. So I've always had an appreciation of wrestling. So it was pretty darn exciting for me when we were able to hire you and see if we could get this thing back at that level. And sure enough, 3 years later, we're at that level. Now we know there's no guarantees, and every year presents its own little challenges, and you're going to graduate kids, and kids are going to get hurt and 1,000 other things. But, we're looking hopefully for big things again. Before we take a break and go to the next segment, let's end this segment. Tell us a little bit about the advisory board. You don't have to get into individual names and things, but what is your advisory board? What is its intent, and how do they help you?
Well, our advisory board was just a huge part. When I knew that was in place, so that I thought that was a key component to be able to have the success that we've had. That when you got more minds wrapped around something, and we meet quarterly, and we're going to be having a meeting coming up, and just those kind of people that they're not all alumni. They're people that represent the university. They're people that represent just outside the university. Our foundation with Angie, she plays a huge role in the pushes that we've made. But they helped us think outside the box and help connect people with the program. And when you're having that kind of consistency, leaves no stone unturned, and has accomplished a number of different things. That if it was just me and my staff, or just me and you working together, that we wouldn't have been able to accomplish the things that we have, let alone the things that we're getting ready to put on the docket moving forward.
Now, to give credit where credit's due, Mitch Smith started the advisory board, your predecessor, correct?
Yep. Yeah, that's something that I think often gets overlooked. That the road's been paved, and it's been paved time and time again by a number of different people, and with what Coach Smith, Coach Leggett, Coach Carpenter, who's still with the program, they put a lot of effort into things. I inherited a great group of guys, and just some different things in place, like the advisory board, and it's not something that just it was me, it was this. It's been just a number of people, and we're looking to continue to bring more and more people on board and get more people out to see our guys compete, and many hands make light work, and it's been many hands that put us in this position.
Well, good to know. Well, right now we're going to take a break, and as soon as we return, we're going to talk a little bit about our opponent for tonight.
The Panhandle Difference.
I immediately called Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration to see if they could clean and restore my home. Not only did they do that, but they even made it more beautiful than it was before the fire. If everyone ever has a tragedy like ours, I highly recommend you call Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration.
Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, and we're gonna save you.
Welcome back. This is the second segment of Inside Hilltopper Athletics, the wrestling edition. I'm joined by head wrestling coach Danny Irwin. Coach, we have a big one tonight at UPJ. Tell us a little bit about the opponent.
Well, Pitt Johnstown, it's always a ferocious duel. We talked about Coach Monceau earlier, and one of my favorite stories, back I think in maybe 1995 or 1994, they had a heavyweight that won a huge match in Blatnick Gymnasium, and you think back to how historic this duel has been, all the way back to some of those stories of heavyweights getting stalled out and things of that nature to where we're at now. That this duel always has big implications for later in the year, but I think it's sets a precedent on where we're at, and where do we need to go, and it's exciting to open up with such a formidable opponent that we have tonight.
Okay, well, one of the advantages of having a brainchild here in the sport of wrestling, educate us. Tell us a little bit about the difference between dual meets and then tournament wrestling, hence what we're going to see in the conference championships, the regional championships, and the national championships.
Yeah, so for duels, there's, all 10 weight classes are going to be wrestled compared to, those individual, scored events where, the national tournament's based on how many qualifiers you have. And, if you don't win any matches there, you get 0 points. Much like tonight, we don't win a match, we don't get points for it. But now all 10 being wrestled, it really shows depth of the program and how important just a one decision in a duel is a lot bigger impact than one major decision in a individually scored event. So all 10 count, and momentum plays a huge role in these duels, and I think we're going to see some of that tonight.
To put it in layman's terms, and correct me if I'm not getting this right, but I really want people to understand the difference. Let's say we're University X and we have 4 national champions, but we lose the other 6 weight classes. We could potentially lose that match, correct? Exactly.
So we could have the 4 best guys in the country at a weight. They could go out there and unless they all pin, and the other 6 weight classes are just decisions, we would lose that duel more times than not. So it takes more than 4, and it's that's been kind of the case over my time of competing against Coach Pecora and Pitt Johnstown, that it's going to take all 10 tonight for us to come out with the highest point total.
Right. Now the other side of that is if you go to the national tournament where you have wrestling powerhouses. If you had 4 guys win the national championships and the other 6 didn't score, you would be in the running to potentially win the whole thing, right?
Yeah, you'd be right there in the mix. You'd probably worst case scenario finish 3rd, and if you had 4 national champions, and in some years you'd be right there in the mix for first.
Right. So that makes it a little bit different. I just don't know if your average fan who doesn't see wrestling on a daily basis understands that. So. Yeah. UPJ tonight, let's talk a little bit about your team. And again, I want these podcasts to be different. In football, it's different. It's not just about the matches and the individuals, but tell us some of your veterans that are returning, starting with Colea.
Yeah, you can't ask for a better spark plug. He's been the spark plug that's fired us up year after year, and to get to open up with a guy that's as credentialed as him, 4-time Scholar All-American, 4-time All-American, couple-time national champion. But that says a lot. But the people that have gotten to see him compete, he's a fan favorite. He's a guy that is very stingy in positions. He has big mat returns. So for some people out there, the other opponent stands up from the bottom position, he's lifting them high up in the air, and he puts them down hard. you know, and he puts them down as hard as anybody for this being the smallest guy out there on the map. So he'll kickstart things for us. And you have an anchor in Francesco Borsellino, who is definitely a fan favorite. He sometimes it's all or nothing, but he's scored a lot of bonus points for us, much like Cole has, and he's been an All-American, and he's had a really good offseason where he didn't get done what he wanted to do last year at the national tournament. So it'll be exciting to see him out there. And Chase Morgan, who's been at the heart of us having the success that we've had at 165 pounds, two-time national qualifier, but somebody that he was bought in from day one, from my very first meeting in this room, that, hey, coach, like whatever it takes. And that's been a big part of why he's been there and done that. And Ty McGeary, who fans got to know really well last year. He's up a weight class this year at 184 pounds now, and he's a guy that puts points out in bunches. So probably those four guys are our key guys. Older guys are back, and now we have a lot of new faces in the lineup that you mentioned earlier.
Right, and we'll talk about them maybe the next time we do one of these podcasts. And I'm already giving a disclaimer for Coach Irwin. In these podcasts, we're not going to be able to mention every kid on the team. We'll eventually get to most of the kids on the team, but we're going in a different direction. Hardest worker on the team.
Hardest worker. I just think about a guy like Drake Kendricks. He was a walk-on coming in, not a highly touted guy out of the state of Indiana, and he's made himself just an animal in the weight room, in the wrestling room. He's somebody that brings the heat, and if the opposite side of him is going small is Jacob Simpson, another guy that from year one here he's brought the heat every single day, and those two guys are good thermometers for us, in the wrestling room and out on the competition floor.
Pound for pound, strongest kid on the team.
Pound for pound, oh gosh, this could get me in trouble, but Brett Goff. I mean, that guy is wicked strong, and he's. You ever see Ben Affleck in The Accountant, the movie? That's Brett Goff, just sneaky. Like, he would terrorize you, strength-wise. And he's going to be an accountant one day, too. Oh.
Funniest guy on the team.
Oh, funniest guy. We just had our guys dress up in costumes the other day, and we had a contest, and the winner of that was Jalen King. He gave just an awesome Blake Miller, who's going to be a teacher at this time next year, an impression of how he's going to be running gym class and so forth. And we have a lot of funny guys. Sneaky funny would be probably Alex Crane in our freshman class. He's sneaky funny.
That's good. Trying to think of a crazy question for you. Which guy on the team has the chance to be the most surprising?
The most surprising. I think somebody that has been in the shadows that could really come to light this year. A guy like Jamie Ward. He's got all the pop in the world, and he's getting more consistent every single day. And good chance we're seeing him. He'll wrestle here this Saturday. We're seeing him probably at the home opener next week against Lake Erie, and if not him, probably Cowboy Cook. He's in the lineup tonight, and he's up 2 weight classes, and I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with now at a new weight class.
Quickly give us the names of your staff.
Staff, well, we got one heck of a staff thanks to a lot of different people, but our head assistant coach, Cam Tamak, year 3, 2 grad assistants, albeit I see them as just straight assistants, Daniel Ratcliffe, Kyle Hatch, and then 2 guys that just wrestled for us the last 5 years, Marcus Jean-Baptiste, and then Christian Rivera. And then we have Coach Logan and Coach Carpenter, who been with the program now for a while too. We got one heck of a staff that loves these guys.
Yep. Let's wrap this up. Tell us a little bit about the facilities and where you've gotten them to, and is there anything coming as far as concrete ready to go?
Well, what we've been able to do facility-wise, our locker room's been upgraded, our wrestling room's been upgraded. I mean, pretty much if you look at it, it's been touched one way or the other. And, our next really exciting thing, is our hallway project. It's taken a lot of time, especially from you being over in the archives of the library, tracking down some of those 80s pictures, 70s pictures of All-Americans, but putting the Hall of Fame up and their full bios, pictures of all our All-Americans, our single season, career record boards. We're really just making sure the I's are dotted and T's are crossed now that we've tracked down, pretty much all but I think 2 pictures we were unsuccessful on, but that's going to be an exciting thing that Hilltopper fans should get to see when they come to the conference championship or another home event in the second half of the year. That should be up.
Maybe when we get that hallway finished, we can even maybe do a film feature.
Yep.
And maybe show some clips on his podcast. But that kind of wraps it up. Again, wrestling fans, West Liberty University wrestling team opens up at UPJ tonight in a match that not only has regional implications but national implications about bragging rights for sure. But please tune in. I believe they'll stream that.
Yep, it'll be streamed. Duel starts at 7 o'clock tonight. Going to be a fun one. That's for sure.
Well, thank you for joining in. Again, I'm Lynn Ullom, joined by Danny Irwin, and we'll see you in the next edition of Inside Hilltopper Athletics.
Inside Hilltopper Athletics is brought to you by Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration.